At the risk of beating a dead horse, this just dropped and it was too damn good not to share with you because during an interview with one of Donald Trump's top economic advisors, MAGA Fox News host Martha McCallum was desperately trying to save Trump and his top advisors from themselves as they face the increasing probability of a midterm electoral bloodbath. And I want you to see her panic on full display as she tries to help Trump and the Trump administration out. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. It's always funny to see Fox News people throw Trump a lifeline and throw his top advisors a lifeline, ultimately to Trump, and they refuse to take it. Okay, so I have a couple of clips to show you from this interview with Kevin Hessent, who's one of Trump's top economic advisors. And Martha McCallum tries desperately to save Trump and Hessent. Guys, the polling isn't good on this. People are pissed off. You're heading into the midterms. Please stop and watch them double down.
Pardon me for interrupting. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the numbers that we looked at show that inflation is still higher than wage growth. Is that true?
No. Wage growth is higher than inflation now. I'll send you an email, or come on next time and show you the chart.
Inflation is at 2.9%.
Real wage growth is $1,200 over the year.
Okay, we'll be happy to take a look at that.
So no, she had it right, but I love it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but inflation is still outpacing wage growth, right? Of course it is. And that's part of the reason why the American people are so pissed off. But again, see how gentle she is. Hey, I know we have these wildly inconvenient facts, and I've got to talk to you about them, but maybe I'm wrong, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Gently trying to coax him in, not trying to club him over the head with it. But she becomes increasingly desperate, okay? And again, the recurring theme is the economy and the political backlash to Trump's disastrous economy. Here's a second clip.
With that last number that we just heard from Grady Trimble that says that year-to-date job cuts show an increase of 54%. That seems like a troubling number. What's your take on it?
Well, don't forget.
That seems that's not good. That's not good, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. That's not good, right? Again, bit more panicked, a bit more desperate. Let's see how Hessent deals with it.
That seems like a troubling number. What's your take on it?
Well, don't forget that there's hires and there's fires and there's separations and new jobs, and so net job creation for the year is very positive. But the flow of jobs in and out is a little bit higher. There's a little bit more turnover. A lot of times that could happen because people feel like they're actually able to get another job if they leave this job.
With that.
That was the most unconvincing show. Well, there's hires, there's fires, there's ins, there's outs. Martha, there's ups and there's downs, okay? But you know what? Net job growth is positive. You mean overall, it's true that it's not a net negative. There have been multiple months where we have net job loss under Donald Trump, something we never had under President Biden. But it is true that we have had some jobs created. It's just that the average monthly job creation under Trump is atrocious compared to what it was under President Biden during any point of Biden's presidency. COVID recovery, post-COVID recovery, you control for it. You take in all the downward revisions. Biden's monthly job creation in the last 10 months of the Biden administration blows the first 10 months of the second Trump administration out of the fucking water. And it's just so funny to see him try to spin this. Well, some people are actually, they're quitting because they think that things are too good. They don't even need their jobs anymore. Because why would you have a job in this economy when it's just so damn good? The desperation. Okay. She tries. You saw it. First clip, a little gentle. Second clip, a little bit more panic. It hits its fever pitch in clip number 3. She's more insistent. Like, what are you guys going to do about this? She's trying, again, to lead Trump by way of Kevin Hessent to a realization that they can't go on like this. And Hessent and Trump double down.
Let's take a look at a couple more polls. This one shows on a scale of excellent, good, only fair, or poor, how would you rate economic conditions today? And if you combine only fair and poor, you get 76% on that poll. And then we have who is more responsible for current economic conditions, President Trump or President Biden. And we have Trump at 62%. So, I know that we've heard from you, we've heard from Scott Bessent saying that things are going to feel very different in the beginning of the year. And everybody hopes that that's absolutely accurate. And we look forward to that. But, what would you say to people who are answering the survey that way, Kevin?
Right.
Again, I love it. You see it. She's panicking. She's just freaking out. Remember, there's some MAGA Fox News hosts like Jesse Waters who will always kiss Trump's ass. Trump is perfect. He's infallible. He's the God King. We can't contradict him. Even if the building is on fire, we're going to pretend that it's not, and we're just going to go up in flames or hope that there's, some sort of torrential downpour that puts the fire out. But we won't cross Trump even to save Trump politically or ourselves politically. Then there's another flavor of MAGA at Fox News, the likes of Maria Bartiromo and Martha McCallum, who love Trump, who grade Trump on a curve, who want Trump to succeed, but are sane enough, have at least one foot in the real world where they recognize shit going wrong. And so they'll massage, they'll be gentle, they'll go differently than if it were a Democrat, of course. But they're pointing this out to Trump and his surrogates to try to get Trump and his surrogates to change so as to be more effective, right? They're trying to help Trump. They're trying to help Kevin Hessent. They're not trying to humiliate them. And I just love this. People are blaming you by twice as much for the economy than Joe Biden, and you guys say that things are going to get better next year, and we're really looking forward to that hopefully being accurate. Again, can you imagine a Democrat ever saying something like that to Martha McCallum? Imagine a Democrat says, "Don't worry, this first year is going to suck. Next year is going to be better." Martha McCallum would be like, "Well, you're president now. You're in power now. You have an obligation to fix things now. Why was this year a failure? Why have you failed so far? Why do we have to wait until next year?" Again, she's dishonest. She's a hack. She grades Trump on a curve. But in the back of her mind, you can see she's like, you guys said you would get this taken care of day one. And now we're 10 months in, and it's a total shit show. What do you say to people who are hurting and who blame you? Again, she's all but shouting at him, "You're going to lose the midterms. This is all your fault."
Well, one of the things that we've seen and we've studied over the last couple of weeks is that when there's a government shutdown, then the things that we economists call the soft data, the survey data, tend to really, really tank because everyone's in a terrible mood because Washington can't work and the government shut down and they're worried about how bad it's going to be. But the hard
Look at her face while he's got this, it's because of the shutdown and the American people just, honestly, they're in a bad mood. They're kind of cranky, Martha, and they just need to get a nap because everything is perfect under Donald Trump. You can see on her face, she's like, "This is the wrong fucking answer, you idiot."
Our data are what do people actually do with their lives, with their pocketbooks. And so, for example, we just saw the best Black Friday ever. People went out getting ready for the Christmas holiday shopping season, feeling very, very optimistic about the economy. As we go into next year, don't forget that all the people who have no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, who are going to be able to deduct the interest on their car loan if they buy a car, all those things are kicking in big time as we go into next year. That's why Secretary Hessent and I are both very confident that we're going to be looking at growth in the 4 numbers for the first half of next year.
So
she's just like, yeah, it was totally unconvincing. And he's just doubling down on it. No reasonableness, no concession, no sympathy, no empathy. Just, the American people are kind of cranky. They don't understand how good they've got it. They honestly need to stop bitching, Martha. The reason that Martha McCallum's bringing this up is quite frankly because of a Politico deep. It's not directly but Politico is talking about the same thing. Trump's own voters begin blaming him for affordability crisis. Americans continue to say affordability is out of control, and they place responsibility on Trump, the Politico poll found. New polling shows many Americans have begun to blame Trump for the high cost they're feeling across virtually every part of their lives, and it's shifting politics. Almost half, 46%, say the cost of living in the U.S. is the worst they can ever remember it being, a view held by 37% of 2024 Trump voters. So if Trump lost that, it's almost certain he would lose if this were going on in November 2024. If people felt the same way about Trump they do a year later, he wouldn't have won re-election. Americans also say the affordability crisis is Trump's responsibility, with 46% saying it's his economy now and his administration is responsible for the costs they struggle with. Percentage of Americans who say the cost of living is worse than I can ever remember it being, 37% of Trump, 53% of Harris. These are among the new results from the Politico poll that crystallizes a growing warning sign for Republicans ahead of next year's midterms. Some of the very groups that powered Trump's victory last year are showing signs of breaking from that coalition, and it's the high cost of living that's driving them away. It's a growing vulnerability that Democrats exploited repeatedly in recent months, with campaigns focused on affordability, sweeping key races in last month's elections in New Jersey and Virginia, and powering an overperformance in a deep red seat in Tennessee on Tuesday. Quote, this is a small warning, but it's one that Republicans need to understand, is that to hold the House in 2026, it's going to be an all-hands-on-deck effort. GOP strategist Ford O'Connell said after the Tennessee election, where Republican Matt Van Epps beat Democrat Afton Bain by 9 points, but underperformed against Trump's 22-point margin in 2024. 1 year ago, Trump's economic message helped him piece together a diverse winning coalition, fueling his return to the White House amid widespread frustration. Then Trump, after campaigning against Joe Biden, inherited the economy he spent months attacking, and both parties were anticipating the moment when voters would begin to turn their blame to the new incumbent. Almost 1 year into Trump's term, the shift is well underway. The Politico poll, conducted by Public First, found that despite Trump's continued support among the Republican base, his softest supporters, the ones the GOP most needs to hold on to next year, are expressing concern. Republicans were already worried about how they can turn out lower propensity voters during a midterm cycle when Trump himself is not on the ballot. Now, Democrats are also trying to peel away their voters by focusing aggressively on affordability, which remains a top priority for 56% of Americans, according to the Politico poll. As was the case in November, affordability was central to the Tennessee special election, with Bain repeatedly centering her campaign on the affordability pitch. Quote, Republicans have long had the advantage on dealing with the economy, but if it remains in the doldrums and prices remain high, it's harder to find a good job. They will blame the party in power, and that's Republicans, said Arizona-based Republican strategist Barrett Marson. The GOP's growing vulnerabilities on the economy represent a stark inversion on an issue that's long defined the GOP and presents an emerging splintering in Trump's winning coalition as his party heads into a high-stakes midterm fight. 3/4 of Trump voters say they trust the Republican Party over Democrats to reduce the cost of living overall, but his numbers are far weaker among those who say they voted for him but do not identify as MAGA Republicans. 61% compared to his 88% of MAGA-aligned voters, pointing to a possible weak spot in his coalition. Even among Trump voters, a meaningful portion, nearly 1 in 5, say Trump holds full responsibility for the state of the economy. The White House disputes that Trump is losing ground in the economy. And they come up with a bullshit excuse from Kush Desai. Oh, yeah, he's just cleaning up the Biden mess. Let's see. Across parties, age groups, races, genders, and income levels, Americans say the cost of living is the nation's top problem. The Politico poll finds a sign that the economy will again overshadow other political topics in next year's midterms. I'm going to keep going here. 43% of Americans, including 31% of Trump voters, say there's less economic opportunity in the U.S. now than there's been in the past. Again, not good. More Americans say Trump holds most or all responsibility for the economy, 46%, than say Biden does, 29%. Quote, voters aren't going to go, I voted for Trump to better the economy, but Biden just hamstrung him too much, Marson said. Well, voters are going to very quickly forget about Joe Biden and just as quickly turn their ire to Trump unless things get better. The survey underscores how Trump is now running into the kinds of economic headwinds that dogged Biden and the Democratic Party during the election. While inflation rates have fallen from a high of 9.1 during the Biden administration to roughly 3% last month, voters' frustration with the cost of living has remained elevated. Biden repeatedly pointed to job growth to argue the economy was strong, even as prices rose. Now, Republicans, who repeatedly hammered Biden over his handling of affordability concern, are increasingly concerned Trump is taking a similar tack. Quote, it's striking to see Donald Trump make the same mistake, said Michael Strain, the director of economic policy studies at the historically conservative-leaning American Enterprise Institute. The survey shows that there is a limit to how long Trump voters are willing to give him a chance to deliver on a core campaign pledge. Already, 1 in 5 said he's had a chance to change the economy but has not taken it, underscoring how an issue that helped Trump form his coalition is now splitting it. A significant portion of Trump's voters last year did not come from his base. More than a third, 38%, self-identified as not being a MAGA Republican in the survey, and those voters are more likely than self-identified MAGA Republicans to hold a pessimistic view of his handling of the economy. Again, not very good at all. Among non-MAGA Trump voters, 29% say Trump has had a chance to change the things in the economy but hasn't taken it, more than double the 11% of MAGA voters who say that Trump has not taken the opportunity. Non-MAGA Republicans were also much more likely than MAGA voters to say the Trump administration is more responsible, for things they find difficult to afford, including groceries, utility bills, and healthcare costs. Not good. Yeah, not good. So it just goes on of what the Democrats have to say about this and how Donald Trump is doubling down on the worst possible things. But there you have it, folks. That was a brutal interview on Fox News based on brutal polling data that will spell doom for the Republican Party, all else being equal. And watching Martha McCallum desperately try to save Trump and Kevin Hessent from themselves, only for them to basically give her the finger as she threw them a lifeline, is hilarious. And I imagine we're going to see more of that as time goes on. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.